Hello and welcome back to the AFL High Performance Podcast. My name is Jack McLean, and today is a solo episode for strength and conditioning coaches, sports science students, interns, or a S&C that's currently working, that's looking for their first full-time contract, and looking about fast-tracking your career. Why do some coaches progress faster than others with equal experience and knowledge, and why others don't? So we'll talk about how to add value with your networking, some common mistakes that I've seen or either made myself, so to be aware of and not make yourself, and also some important tips around how to maximize things like LinkedIn, your past mentors, your colleagues, educators, researchers, and also those working in other disciplines like coaching, technical coaches, physiotherapists, doctors, and so forth. Branding as well. We'll touch on a little bit about around brand, how to use social media to enhance your brand, but also probably more importantly than enhancing your brand, how to not tarnish your brand, and the importance of developing respect over being known. So we'll start with the importance of adding value before asking for favors. I think that's probably one of the most common mistakes is thinking that or you make a contact with someone that's quite credible in the industry, and straight away you're asking them questions, and maybe you're asking them for a referral, or do you know someone at this club? I'm looking to get an interview, whatever it might be. So first, before asking for favors, I think just show that you're obviously interested. General sounds probably simple and basic, but develop the relationship like you would develop any other relationship, in that you're thinking it's something. I think it might be someone that you're going to work with or could work with in the future. So don't rush and take shortcuts for the short-term gain. Think of it like you're going to be in this industry for over 20 years, and you want to treat that relationship with respect and a two-way sort of process rather than just take. So typically those that have been in the industry and something that you're looking up to, they're incredibly busy. They might have a young family, so they'll have lots going on. So for them, time is precious. So if you are going to contact them, you don't want a long-winded message. Get to the point. Make sure it's focused, and think about that notion of adding value rather than taking initially. So whether that be a research paper that you heard of that you thought was interesting, and your takeaways from that, for example, and keep it to 1 to 2 points. Or maybe you're interested in a new technology, and you're asking if they'd used it before. So it's really something small, and just let that sort of relationship develop over time rather than getting straight into asking for favors. I think that's a big one. And add value wherever that you see fit as well. So if there's something that you're an expert in, like you've done a PhD on a particular topic, maybe you're sharing your research and some of the key takeaways if you think that's of interest of them, and in their role, for example. Another one I think that can commonly get missed is only name dropping people for the sake of almost showing how many people you know, and maybe there might not be credibility in those relationships as well. So the industry is incredibly connected. So I wouldn't be name dropping for the sake of name dropping. I don't think that is playing the long game. Not being prepared, I think that goes into things like conferences, and I'll touch on that a little bit later on, but conferences, workshops, courses, anything that you're going that anything, industry perspective, that's going to be an opportunity to network and develop your brand, whether you're aware of it or not. So make sure you're prepared, have an understanding on who's going to those courses. Do you have any mutual connections, interests, and put some energy into that space, and be prepared into, I guess, maximizing that period of or that course through connecting and through asking relevant questions and being pinpointed on areas that you're trying to get better at, and perhaps that person that's on that course, if you both share a similar interest, you can have similar questions. So maybe you might be asking them, have they used that particular method before, and what did they think of it? Could be just a simple way. Another common mistake is posting content that damages your credibility. Typically, posting content of your own training, that can be really good. For example, if you're doing it with an educational sort of focus and sharing your interests and just putting out there how you train and maybe adding in the why and the purpose behind that method, that can be educational. I think that can add credibility. But the opposite would be maybe just sharing for the sake of sharing. Like, not many people are going to be that interested in your training, so that might tarnish, particularly if it looks like you sort of if it's coming from a place of ego, that could be something that does damage to your credibility. So being mindful of that. When it comes to networking, sort of break it down into the big five. So you've got your past mentors, those that you've worked with or that have helped you along the way, staying connected with them. You've got your colleagues, those that you're currently working with. I think it can, and I know I've made this mistake in the past in organizations where I'm constantly seeking information outside of the actual four walls that I'm in. They're all experiencing and in the same environment as you, so they may be facing the same challenge or problem that you're trying to solve. So I think first think with your own colleagues first about solving that problem, and then if they're still unstuck, then that's when it can be helpful to go outside of the walls. Educators, of course, any that have educated you along the way through formal education, your sports science degree, masters, and researchers that you know. I think it's hugely valuable to stay connected with them and keep a finger on the pulse with where the research is going. Coaches from different codes, so NRL, AFL, A-League, awesome opportunity to do PD and to shadow in the off season. You're getting two birds with one stone. You're getting unbelievable bit of experience for free, but also it's a great opportunity to network and develop really effective connections. And then other disciplines, like I said, physiotherapists, coaches, doctors, analysts, don't just stick to your own silo of strength and conditioning. So they're probably the big five: past mentors, colleagues, educators, coaches, and other disciplines like your medical sort of staff and sports science. Where do you go about developing? So if you might be listening to this and you've just started the industry and it can be quite overwhelming, in where do you start? Remember, think the long game. So don't rush it. Let it take time. You'd rather have quality over quantity, I think. At the end of the day, when you're putting down references, you're typically only going to put 2 or 3 down on your CV. When you work at organizations, that's who people are going to call when you're going for a job. So that's where going back to your colleagues, making sure you've got a really strong relationship there and you're doing really good work, because that's going to come through and pay dividends later on, even years down the track, a place that you worked at 4 years ago. So you never know who you're going to work with next. Like I said, shadowing. So for example, in the off season, speed was a real area that I wanted to be surrounded by to help with my role at the Eels. So I did a session with Josh Adokar. He did some work with Roger Fabry. I did John Quinn, caught up with him at the Sydney Olympic Park, watching some track and field sessions for 100-meter sprinters. Alex Berger from Athletes Authority, who had obviously it's private sector environment, but it was all speed training for local athletes, whether it be soccer players, rugby union. So it was a range of different tennis players, range of different athletes there. So that was cool. And then other ways of doing it is over Zoom. So like around the speed stuff, my presentations, programs I put together, I shared it with guys like Matt Taylor, who's the Gold Coast Suns. We did the Jonas Stodu course together. He's just moved to St Kilda. Shared some ideas there. How is he using Jonas's PSR and plant separate and braking, so the deceleration framework with his work. And then Jared Hall, we typically the last couple of years have caught up in the off season. I moved to rugby league when he moved to AFL, so and we got to know each other at the Rebels when I was shadowing their program. So you just never know where these experiences, especially when they're intentional, you're just looking to help each other out, get better, do better work for your organizations, where they can lead, and it just builds up over time. So it just doesn't need to be forced. It can just simply be asking some questions and see where it goes. But I think Zoom's great, great way to have a topic in mind and just catch up and just share and just see where it goes. It's been hugely valuable for me. LinkedIn, obviously a great way to connect with a range of different people all around the world. You can use direct message. Obviously, once you're connected, people are doing some really good things like posting educational content on there. I think that it's particularly if it's practical and people can apply it to their trade and their work. I think that's a great way to network, because people are going to follow your work from there. And it's just building awareness around your brand. Like I mentioned, courses and conferences and other areas that you can go. And ultimately, volunteering and interning is probably the best way. If you've got very little experience or network, just volunteer your time and make the most of it as well. Make sure you're really being helpful and making life easier for everyone around you. That is this month's episode for strength and conditioning coaches looking to crack into their first full-time contract. It is the silly season. It's going to be over in the next couple of weeks. So if you want to jump on a mentorship call and dive into some of these tips a little bit deeper, specific to you, I do have some availability for the next couple of weeks. So make sure to do that. You can contact me at jack@propellerpro.com to book in a call, or we can just jump on a discovery call and just see if we'd be a good fit. But I do those over Zoom. They're one-on-one and highly actionable, specific to you to help your career. Action items for those listening to this episode: reach out to 3 people over the next couple of weeks that you may have worked with in the past. I reckon send out 1 post, update your LinkedIn profile, make sure it's clear, it's a good representation. It's almost like an online CV. So make sure that's up to date, and then reconnect with people, not just in your specific domain, but physiotherapists, doctors, coaches, technical coaches that you've worked with in the past, and see how they're going, and maybe catch up for a beer or a coffee or over Zoom and just discuss a specific topic. Hopefully this has been helpful. If you have a topic in mind that you want me to present on, I'm putting my 2026 calendar year together. Just reach out to me and I will look to add that onto the list, as well as guests. If you have some guests in mind, I look to complete the year usually around December. So if you have some people in mind that you think would be a good guest, feel free to send them through. Thanks. I will see you guys on the next episode.